Hello, and welcome. So nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an honor. We're very excited to have you here with us, Senator. So thank you.
Thank
So
you.
we just dive right in and find out, the first question we all want to know, who are you a mummy to? Who are you mothering at this time?
Well, I am the mother of Elliot. Elliot, who is 7-year-old and just finishing first grade very in a few weeks. So I've been I retired from sport after the Beijing Games in 2008, and it took me a few years to decide if I wanted to be a mother, or if I was just having some blues after retiring from sport. And then it came to me that I really wanted to do that, and that's how we made that decision.
Wonderful. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And on your motherhood journey, what are you uncovering about yourself, about you?
Well, that is the very interesting about being a parent is you discover a human being that is your child, but you also find out and discover so many things about yourself that you didn't know. And for me, I think maybe because I had my child when I was already in my 40s, so I felt very, very privileged that I could be pregnant and have a baby after retirement from high performance. And then I realized that I had some strength, like anybody, some strengths, some weaknesses, of course. I'm very patient. I didn't think I was patient. And I can be funny, which really is the one thing that I find that being a mom allows me to be goofy and to be funny and to be creative and to and things that I didn't think I was, and maybe I never explored because I didn't have the chance. But I find that our children really allows us to do that, because you're doing it with them, you're doing it for them, and so I really quite enjoy that part.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, you get to play again, I guess, too, right? And be silly. So super. Oh,
Yes.
wonderful. And so what would be, do you think, your most joyful part of your day?
I think it depends. It also depended on the age. I really enjoyed having. I stayed at home for 2 years. I made that choice. I knew that I would have one child, and I could do it, and I wanted to do that. I wanted to be there for the first 2 years, and so this was even to this day, I very much cherish that part. I know that everybody's so different, because I have some friends are like, oh no, after 5 months, I'm like, I'm going back to work. I really enjoyed that part so much. But now Elliot is older, like this year, he's starting to read. Their thinking at 7 is just a little more complex. And so these days, I really appreciate the end of day. The pandemic, we know, has been so challenging. But I find, and as a parent, it's been very challenging. I recognize that. But in my case, it's also brought us some sort of, I don't know, different routines, I guess, and some moments that I really appreciate. And so, I like the end of the day. We go outside, we go for a walk, like he goes in the swings, and we play a little bit of basketball, even if I can't play basketball, but I just pretend I can. And then we come back and we read, because he loves that. And these days, I read a book and then he reads one that he can read at his stage. So we read 2 books, and it's just very, very special. And I make him warm milk, which really he doesn't appreciate anymore so much, but I still do it.
Yeah, it's part of your ritual.
It means something. I'm not sure what, but so I really like those moments, and he still allows me to cuddle a little bit, which I'm not allowed in the morning at school, because we want to be cool.
Yeah, that's right.
The end of the days are nice.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. That is really lovely. And was there a value, like in taking your parenting seriously, which obviously you did make when you made your choices, was there a value you thought of that you really wanted to impart to him?
Yes, I think there are many values that I want to pass to him. I want him to, I think family is very important to me. Us three being the three musketeers, and to be this family and this very, very connected team. I think that's very important to me. But as he's growing older, I find it so interesting that he's very keen on the environment because of school, of course, but because we're always outdoors because of what we teach him. And, he's got a couple chores in the house, and his big thing is that he's taking down the recycling and compost. And so this is one thing I want to, but these days, as he's in school and more, I think, immersed in diversity, I find it's very important to show him and teach him the importance of respect in all the differences. We live downtown Montreal, and he's in contact with all kind of differences and abilities, disabilities, gender differences, and I really want him to be just comfortable that you can be who you want, love who you want, and it's all good. And I think it's happening, and I'm hoping that he will keep growing into this very welcoming the differences kind of individual.
Oh my gosh, amazing. And I really think I follow you with that I think this next generation, they're going to rock it.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yes.
Awesome.
Wonderful. I want to say, if I have time, I had the best anecdote the other day, because his best friend is Nolan, right? And he came to me and he said, "Oh, I'm in love with Charlie, this little girl, and I'm gonna, if she wants, I'm gonna marry her." So I was like, "Okay, this is great, consent." So he's thinking, and then he said, "And then we can have a baby." And then he said, "Well, if she doesn't want, I can marry Nolan, but then we need to adopt the baby." And I thought, this is so cool, because they're 7, and like his mom is in a wheelchair, and he just doesn't see differences for them. Is just something, it is what it is. It's a difference and nothing more.
No, and he was very factual, right? He had it all sort of figured out, nice and factual. How fantastic. Wonderful. And so for you personally, in as a mother, what do you think's been your hardest part, the hardest part of being a mom?
I think, the story of Marco resonates with me, because I had some fears being a person in a wheelchair. I didn't have fear on authority, but I had fears on what is it that I can't do with him when he was a child, and frustration. I have to say, I'm a former Paralympian. I'm very independent. I'm very strong and able with my wheelchair. But when you have a 3-year-old and you're in a park, and parks in Montreal are just the sandbox, and then you're like, okay, I hope he comes back, because I don't know what I'm going to do. And that part for me, like that very, very physical challenges was, I did not like that. Like it got to me, because that's not, you want to do everything, you want to be everything. But I thought it was a bit of a learning lesson, that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask your spouse, your friends. And so, but I have to say that that
right
part when my son was at this age where, I wanted to go swim with him, but I'm like, maybe I should wait until he can swim a bit better. Like, you don't want to take a chance. And so those limits, I did not appreciate too much. I did not enjoy that. But at the same time, I think for Elliot, it didn't matter. And, like sometimes things get to us, but they don't care. Like, they don't care.
No, I agree. I totally agree with that. Do you have a story perhaps you can share where Elliot made you laugh, or his humor, his fun?
Elliot makes me laugh all the time, and even more so that myself and my husband, we're not really. We're not extroverted. We're not party people, and we're quiet, right? And Elliot is this like ball of energy, and he's funny and he's goofy, and sometimes we're like, okay, we're not sure how that happened, but it's really fun, and he's always trying to make us laugh, and he's got this great spirit. So I think it's good energy, and it's also always a reminder that life doesn't have to be complicated, and that it's okay to be happy, and so he really brings so much joy in our life. Yeah.
Fantastic. Wow. Yeah. It is funny when, as a parent, when you look at your child and you go, I'm not sure where you came from. Like, you're so different.
Exactly.
In all the good ways and all the crazy ways, right? But I love that.
Exactly.
That is fantastic.
Yes.
And actually mentioned it a little bit, but I was curious as to how important you think support is as a mother, like to be able to ask for support, to be supported.
Well, I mean, I think it's important for every mother, every parent, and I think there could be some differences if you're a parent with a disability. I suppose when I look back, I think that sometimes I was, I had too much fears for what it was, and and I didn't take enough chances, or it took me a while to say, okay, I can go on a road trip with that child and everything will work out fine, because I was always thinking, what if this happens and I'm on my own, and for a few years. So I did have a good support system. I think it's important. I think any parent, it's a tough job. It's full time, and having people around, I think it makes a huge difference. I'm looking forward for having the right to get the grandparents back, because I want to go out for dinner with my husband. And it's been a year, so I'm looking forward to this, to having everybody back in our lives, because that's when you realize that even if it's only a little bit, it really does help. I think also when it comes to support, I was very privileged, because coming from my background as a Paralympian, I knew a lot of moms in wheelchair with the same disability, so former athletes,
right.
And we connected, and in fact, we have a Facebook group that we just ask for tips, like what car seat works, what is easy when you're carrying a little baby in your wheelchair. So this was very, very important, and I think that there could be more of it. There are some groups or some organization, but I didn't feel that I was overloaded with them, and I had to reach out a little bit. But sometimes you don't think about it, and you have this friend in Switzerland. I remember she just had this belt with a Velcro, and she's like, this works. Like, you sit the baby on your lap, you put the Velcro, and I'm like, yeah, that's simple, but it worked for a few years. And so I think reaching out, I was privileged because I was in that circuit.
Right, you had people.
And connected with these girls who had the babies before me. But sometimes I think if I did not have that network, I'm not sure it would have been so simple.
Right. Yeah, and I relate. I think for all mums, those having those people around who are a little ahead of you, maybe, or have gone through something, right? That is lovely. It helps. It helps the whole journey. Oh, wonderful. So let me just check where we got to. Okay. So I think a big question for this Amplifying Voices would be, what do you wish like the larger society really understood about parenting with a with a disability?
I have to say that it really hit me as a shock to see how a lot of people had some not taboos or cliches, or were thinking discriminatory a little bit, and I have to say I did not see that coming, but because I had all these friends who had kids, and to me it was like, yeah, sure, it will work out, and you have to be creative and this and this. But I remember, my first doctor was like, oh, okay, it might be more complicated. And then I went with another doctor who said, no, it's not complicated. It's, it's the same thing, but in a wheelchair. And I had a few examples of friends or people wanting to help when really you don't need help. I always think about this lady. I was crossing the street and Elliot was so trained to put his hand on my lap. And that's how we cross the street, because I can't hold his hand and push my chair, right? But he did that, it was so safe and good. And I have this story of this lady seeing me crossing the street and say, oh, I'll hold his hand. I'm like, so that's not your job. That's not your place. I do have a couple hit stories like that where I'm like, okay, it really means that some individuals, they can't really picture you as a parent, or they're not quite sure if you can actually do it properly without help. And that took me by surprise, I have to say. So, and this makes me think that there's still a lot of education to be done, which we do just by being there every day, by taking them to school, picking them up, and organizing birthday parties. So we do are part of that education, but it was I think those prejudice, is that the word?
Yeah, I think so.
I think they were more there than I thought they would be.
Yeah. And I think people always think, oh, they know better too, whereas it's like, wow, if you see your mom with a child, they got it. We know how amazing moms are. They've got it. Leave them alone, right?
Exactly. I mean, yes, exactly. I remember I had one day in a bad mood where I was in the park in front of me and there was a bit of snow and Elliot was playing, and this person passed by and then stopped and come back and he said, do you need help with him? And I'm like, and then I was so upset and I said, well, what kind of parent would I be to be here alone with my child if it was putting him at risk? Like, seriously.
Right. You've only just discovered
it was a bit of my bad mood day. but I think sometimes we need to tell people to keep it to their place.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. Education in so many forms, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. So our last question, this has been a pleasure. I could go on forever. Luckily, nobody's flashing times at me. We just keep chatting, if that's okay, Senator. A piece of advice that you maybe would have for a parent with a disability?
I think trust yourself. I think we need to, I mean, when I look back, like I said, sometimes I had hesitancy and some fears, and really, they weren't really that justified. And so I think we need to trust ourselves and we need to trust our children. It is, for me, it's been amazing how even very, very young at 4 and 3, Elliot knew that if I was with my husband, there are things he could do, but if he was alone with me, he wouldn't do it. And, because he knew I wanted him closer or that kind of thing. And I think that we need to trust ourselves. We need to trust them. They will help. Like Elliot, I remember very young, he would grab me around the neck to get in the car as a little baby. And we figure it out and they figure it out. And we have to trust that, and then I would say reach out for the resources, and not the complicated things, but just the little tips, like having the right bed can change your life when you're in a wheelchair. because those little tools, I find sometimes they don't come to you, but they're out there, and they make a difference. So those would be my two points.
Wonderful. They are big points. I think all parents can deal with how wise our kids are, right? And to have that trust in you and trust in them. So, Senator, thank you so very much. This has been a real pleasure, a real honor, and thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been great, and it's great to listen to the stories. Thank you so much.